You don't see V10 engines in British trucks. You barely even hear about them. Most manufacturers settle somewhere between the safe and sensible, inline sixes for economy, the odd V8 for grunt. But once, just once, someone went mad. In the late 1980s, deep inside Leyland's experimental division, a team of engineers built something that was never meant to be quiet, never meant to be efficient, and never ever meant to be boring. It was a fire-breathing, pavement-ripping juggernaut so loud it shook test tracks to bits, and so fast it made hauliers nervous. This wasn't a concept, it wasn't a drawing board idea. It rolled, it roared, and it scared the life out of the industry. They called it the TX450, but on the road it earned another name, the V10 Monster. Now, Leyland was under pressure in the late 80s. They were still recovering from a decade of industrial chaos, political interference, and collapsing confidence. DAF had already started closing in with their takeover plans, and British engineering pride was taking hits from every corner of Europe. Scania had their mighty 143 series, the Volvo F16 was redefining driver expectations, and Mercedes were creeping in with sleek modern long haulers. Leyland needed something bold, not to sell in volume, but to remind the world that Britain still had the bottle to build a truck that could eat motorways for breakfast. That's where the TX450 came in. It looked familiar at first glance, boxy cab, squared shoulders, nothing too flashy. But peel back the shell and you'd find something few road vehicles in Britain had ever tried. A Rolls-Royce CV10 turbo diesel engine, packing 10 cylinders of thunder. This wasn't some exotic import either, this was a genuine British military-grade engine, the same kind of powerhouse used in armoured vehicles and generator units. Detuned slightly for road use, it still cranked out around 450 horsepower with more torque than anything else in its class. And let's be clear, this wasn't 450 horsepower in the polite modern sense. This was raw, unfiltered grunt. It pulled like a freight train and sounded like a Lancaster bomber on low idle. The torque curve hit like a hammer and the power band was unforgiving. Miss a gear? You'd stall or overshoot. Change up too late? You'd be redlining before you even cleared second. It was a truck that demanded respect, nor it would punish you. Veterans who got the chance to pilot it still talk about the drive like a war story. The ZF 16-speed manual box had to be worked like a winch. The throttle response was immediate and brutal. Hit the pedal too hard and the cab would lurch forward like it was trying to overtake itself. Pulling heavy trailers on inclines? No problem. Keeping your fillings in? Less guaranteed. But here's the thing, it wasn't just power for show. The TX450 handled. Leyland's engineers spent months tuning the suspension geometry, testing different axles, adjusting dampers, and shaving weight where they could. And the result was a high-speed cruiser that sat on the road like it belonged in a racing series. It was confident in corners, it could hold a lane with surgical precision, and unlike the sluggish heavies of its era, it didn't need a full mile to build up momentum. Still, the writing was on the wall. By the time the TX450 started making headlines in haulage magazines, British fleet managers were already backing away. They didn't want experimental, they wanted economical, they wanted reliability. The CV10 engine was a marvel, but it was also expensive to build and maintain. And most importantly, it terrified insurance companies. One whispered rumor claimed that a logistics firm refused a long-term test drive simply because their policy wouldn't cover a truck with that much horsepower. Behind the scenes, DAF executives were already eyeing a full integration. They weren't interested in super trucks, they wanted uniformity, predictability, and streamlined production. Leyland's Mad V10 was a relic before it even left the prototype garage. Only 2 TX450 prototypes were confirmed to have been built. One, the most well-known, made the rounds in press circuits, demo days, and industry expos. The second, according to some insiders, was quietly stripped and dismantled before it ever left Leyland's grounds. Some say the engine was removed and repurposed for a military testbed. Others claim the cab was used in another, far less exciting DAF-led project. The official narrative was silence. No press releases, no cancellation memo, no obituary. One day, the truck was in the headlines, and the next, it was gone. Just like that. For most, it was just another concept that never made the cut. But for the few who saw it up close, the TX450 wasn't just a machine, it was a warning shot. It was proof that British engineers, when given the freedom, could build something world-class, something insane, something unforgettable. If the TX450 had been built in another country, Germany, maybe, or even Sweden, it might have stood a better chance. But it was born in Britain at the worst possible time. The early 90s were not kind to British trucking manufacturers. The market was shrinking, regulations were tightening, and government support was practically non-existent. Fuel prices were climbing, emissions rules were changing, and Europe was marching towards standardization. Nobody was asking for a 10-cylinder monster that chewed through diesel like it was water and needed custom tools just to adjust the valves. That didn't stop it from leaving a deep mark. You see, the TX450 wasn't just a one-off, it was proof of concept, an engineering sandbox that let Leyland try ideas that would later trickle into more normal production trucks. From its gearbox configurations to the layout of the cab electrics, parts of the TX lived on in quieter, less dramatic ways. But what made the V10 truly legendary was the feeling it left behind, that brief moment when a British truck could match the raw madness of anything rolling out of Scandinavia or Bavaria. Some even say it helped push the envelope across the industry. After all, not long after the TX's brief debut, we started seeing horsepower wars heat up again. Scania launched newer versions of its 14-litre V8. Volvo pushed its F16 to new limits, and even MAN was playing with big-bore engines. The TX450 didn't directly spark those moves, but it reminded people that there was still a hunger for something insane. So why didn't Leyland or DAF try again? That's where the real tragedy lies. When DAF fully absorbed Leyland, they came in with spreadsheets and strategy teams. Practicality was the name of the game. Dutch design and Dutch manufacturing took the lead, and anything too experimental got quietly shelved. The TX450 was too British, too bold, too fuel-hungry, too risky, and honestly, too expensive. Building even a limited run would have required special production lines, training, spare support, and dealer retooling. None of that made sense for a truck that barely fit inside the UK's standard fleet cost model. And let's not ignore the political climate either. Britain's truck industry wasn't just shrinking, it was being gutted. Mergers, closures, offshore buyouts, the list goes on. Companies like ERF were struggling. Foden was holding on, but only just. Bedford was already gone, and with every passing year, another British badge disappeared from the roads. In that environment, the TX450 was doomed from the start, a final flare of defiance before the lights went out. Still, those who saw it in motion never forgot. There's grainy footage from a Haulage Expo where the TX pulls out of a yard with no trailer, just cab and chassis. You can hear it before you see it, a deep metallic growl that rises into a full-throated snarl. And when it moves, no hesitation, no lag. It surges forward like it's chasing something. Even parked, it looked angry. The way the cab sat low on its haunches, the slightly flared arches, the oversized radiator grille, like a mouth waiting to swallow tarmac. And that engine note, that was everything. V10 diesels don't sound like inline sixes. They're deeper, more uneven, like a heartbeat that's just a little too fast. Add a fat turbo and military-grade injectors, and what you got was less truck and more mechanical bellow. People remember that sound decades later, not because it was loud, but because it felt alive. Every rev told you this wasn't a fleet truck. It was a machine that belonged in the hands of a lunatic or a legend, or both. Today, no known TX450s are running. There's no registry, no parts list, no service manual. But there's hope. Rumors swirl about one surviving cab stored in the back of a Midlands collector's yard. Some even say the original V10 block still exists, albeit missing its ancillaries. And in online forums, photos appear now and then. Grainy, watermarked, scanned from magazines long out of print. You can't kill a legend, you can bury it, sure, but someone will always dig it back up. And maybe that's where the TX450 really succeeded. It didn't just break the rules, it ignored them, it didn't ask permission, it didn't worry about fleet specs or insurance premiums. It roared into existence, proved its point, and disappeared. But in doing so, it earned a place in the hearts of British trucking fans, a symbol of what could have been, a reminder that sometimes, just once, it's worth going completely mad.